The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, that's NAFDAC, continues to welcome prospective homegrown solutions to COVID-19. But then, just what's the process of developing these medications? And how well do they actually work? Not forgetting the big question about safety. Well, tonight on the program, we are joined by someone who has been involved in the development of a COVID-19 medication and definitely knows better. Olakposi Omotui is a senior research fellow at the Institute for Drug Research and Development at Babalola University, Ado-Ekiti. Good to have you on the program. There's been a lot of buzz around this, but for NAFDAC to have visited to assess what you've been working on, it means there's substantial prospects in this one. But first, can you tell us, what is it? Is it a vaccine, a cure, or an antiviral drug?
Thank you very much. Good evening for her. I'm very grateful for having me. It's not a vaccine. It's not a synthetic drug. It's actually an herbal drug, which, of course, should be something to cheer about.
So it's herbal. Is it a syrup type? Is it a? We'll still get to the process of getting to this point, but I just want to imagine it. Is it a syrup? Is it a tablet, or what is it?
It's going to be a syrup formulation. Basically, it's a syrup formulation. Yeah.
All right.
Basically.
So let's talk about the process, because I know it's no child's play to get to this point. How did you, get to this point? It must have been quite a journey.
Thank you very much. Actually, the journey of working with viruses actually started in 2014 at the peak of Ebola virus disease in West Africa. At that time, I was with the Nagasaki University Therapeutic Innovation Center, Nagasaki University, where we were developing drugs for Ebola. And I felt that my expertise was needed better in Africa than it was in Japan. So I resigned and I came home. The journey was just about putting up the manpower, putting up whatever facilities we needed to do antiviral research. So 2019-20 were the time that we had the opportunity to test the things that we put together to see whether they were going to work well or not. So at that time, we're looking at where we had comparative advantage in terms of what we had to be in our arsenal in Nigeria and in Africa. And of course, plants became something very topical at that time. So at that time at AUA, where I primarily do my job, we were screening one of the plants and we're getting some very fantastic results. Then later, we had to move into Babalola University, where we had the necessary funding to be able to do a lot. And we expanded, starting from 1 to about 18 plants at that time, looking at specific pharmacologies. So by the time we finished, we were able to identify one that was able to exhibit what the scientists would call polypharmacology, being able, a single monoherbal preparation that is able to attack COVID-19 pathology at different stages. And that's exactly where I think NAFDAC became very interested in what we're doing.
So at what stage are you in this, development process? I know there are different hurdles to cross, but where exactly are you now?
Okay, great. So like I told you, we had a primary screening program, and the primary screening program of 3 types. Number 1, we deployed very extensively on our experience in biocomputation to be able to identify compounds from this plant that, from this series of plants, 18 I told you earlier, that has the capacity of inhibiting different stages of COVID-19 pathology. Then we advanced to testing them out in the laboratory by what is called a reductionist kinetic approach. In that approach, you are supposed to take an enzyme or a process and study them in the test tube to see whether what the computer was telling you was actually right or wrong. And from there, you identify the fractions. So you cannot just go take a leaf, grind, and start using. It doesn't work like that. You now have to identify the fraction that is doing what it was doing. That we have done. Then also we go ahead to identify what exactly are in those fractions, that the phytochemical basis. This time around, you could use things like HPLC to try to have a glimpse into the chemical composition of those things. So we found that out. Then after we finished the in vitro work, we decided to write, and it was the time the CBN was asking for call for grants. We wrote hoping we would get something to further our work. That didn't come up. Then we returned back to the founder of Abuad to tell him we had capacity to do more, but we didn't have the funds. So he provided the funds to further do work on animal studies. In animal studies, we were able to use specific parts of COVID-19 to elicit what is called hyperinflammation episodes or hyperinflammatory episodes in the animals, and we're able to see serious blockade, of these processes by the fractions of the plants that we're working with. So holistically, we had different stages of COVID-19 pathology that we think preparation should be able to take care of very confidently.
So if I get you correct, you're saying it has gone through some form of animal trials, but not human trials as of now?
Not human trials. Well, in Nigeria, you cannot do human trials except you have NAFDAC giving you the go-ahead to do that. And that's exactly why we've, put up our papers in the first place to come and let us see what we're doing. And before you can do human trial, you have to understand that you have to get the dosage correctly. You have to also do what is called the no observed adverse effect levels correctly. That is toxicity studies. Yeah. That we have also done satisfactorily. And that's the reason the NAFDAC is going to list us so that we can do human trials in this. But we're very confident in what we have, in its ability to be able to do what we are claiming it will do.
It's quite exciting to know that at least there are potentials, homegrown potentials right here in Nigeria. But, for the average person listening out there, I'm sure the question on their minds is, yes, you sound very excited about this. You seem to be very confident about it. But just how soon can it be, or will it be ready or available?
Well, thank you for that question. Even the vaccines that many companies in the world and various very big establishments have put together, sometimes you have to do what is called emergency, authorization for the use of a lot of things like this. I think once the NAFDAC is assured of the safety of our product, I'm sure they would allow it to go through clinical trials. And I'm sure as soon as the clinical trial results come out, it will be able to go into what is called commercialization. The reason we are very confident that this will sail through is that we did not just go the way of Madagascar in this case. No, we leveraged very heavily on basic biomedical sciences. And when I mean basic biomedical sciences, we're talking about understanding the pathology of a disease and, of course, how our innovation is able to attack that. So that's exactly why we're very confident in that. And again, when you do something inside a test tube, your level of confidence might actually be very low. By the time you graduate into using animal models for your experiment, and you still get very good results, then you know that the level of applicability in humans become even higher than you studied.
Okay. Let me see if we could just wind down on this one quickly. I know you touched on this. Funding was a major challenge for you. Was that the only challenge you faced in this process?
Well, I thank you. I think the most important thing, the most important factor really would be if you have human resource capital. We have human resource capital that is actually cut across a lot of places. I will tell you for free. We have researchers in Herbal University that are trained all over the world. They are some of the very best people you can see around in Nigeria. We have some that we've collaborated with in NAFDA, National Agency for Biotechnology Development, NAFDA, in Abuja. We have people in AAUA where I am primarily here. So we have a very robust set of people that have worked on this together with us here. I'm just very lucky to be the guy, leading this whole process. That's number one. So I wouldn't say human capital is our problem. Okay. The only problem really would have been funding, because even if you're very brilliant and you have very good and sellable ideas and you don't have the funds to back them up, it's only going to die as a wish. Well,
clearly this conversation is not dying just yet. We've just begun, but we'd like to thank you so much for at least shedding some light on what you have done so far. Omotui Olaposi is a senior research fellow at the Institute for Drug Research and Development at Herbal University. We wish you the very best.